Big thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring my Pokemon card collection. This video. So, I want to start off this video with a little bit of like a fun fitness challenge, a little bit of like a head-to-head kind of thing. I saw this video by popular fitness YouTuber Will Tennyson about a month or so ago. It was kind of like a regular vlog, and in it he attempted his 1 rep max on the bench press, and he got 330 pounds, which is a very impressive bench press, especially at a guy his body weight. I believe he's only like 185. That is pretty damn strong. I don't think I could do that. Although my bench press at its peak back in 2019 was 350 pounds, I did this at a much heavier body weight of around 200 pounds. And then since the pandemic hit and 2020 went to shit for pretty much all of us, I haven't actually attempted it in a while, but I'm pretty certain that it's not 330 pounds. But fast forward a little bit, I saw this video on his channel where he attempted kind of like an NFL combine sort of thing. And in this case, the 225 pound bench press, 2 plates for as many reps as possible. And he got 16, which again, in my opinion, is a pretty impressive number. And this time I decided, you know what, I'm not gonna shy away from this one. I'm gonna set up a little challenge for myself just out of curiosity on one of my random chest training days from last week, and I decided to give this a try as well.
Everybody wants to get down like that.
Glorious reps, with the last one being such a grinder I thought I was gonna pop a hernia. To be honest, I was very happy with this. Well done, Igor. You know, this is the most I've ever done. However, this kind of posed a little bit of a conundrum, and it confused me to a certain extent because what the hell is going on here? How is it that, you know, like in this case, kind of comparing to another individual, Will Tennyson, you know, 1 rep max, probably a solid 20 to 30 pounds above what I can do right now. But in terms of like max number of reps, I was able to edge him out by just a little bit. And this kind of got me thinking and led me down a rabbit hole for what I think is a really cool example. If you guys saw on my channel about like a month or so ago, I hit all-time 1 rep max on the squat. It was 430 pounds. It felt friggin' great, especially if you compare this to me back in, this is give or take 2014. I was like, I think 24 years old at the time. 405 pounds, 4 plates, and I was able to get this for, at the time, this was my 1 rep max. However, here's where things get a little bit weird. I have this old video, and guys, forgive me for this camera that looks like it was shot on a potato. This is a really big blast from the past. This is one of my first ever Instagram posts like 5 years ago. And in this crappy video, when I put some music over it, the point is, bear with me, you see what I'm talking about. I was able to hit 315 pounds for a top set PR of 11 reps. Now recently, after I hit that 430 pound all-time PR just a few about like a month or so ago, I decided to test something similar. I decided to see how many reps I could hit, in this case with 275. And I was able to get, as you see here, 13. Because in this case, if you have any experience and you know anything about lifting, this is not nearly as impressive as the previous video that you guys just saw. 315 for 11 is significantly more impressive than 275 for 13. Something in my strength, it's not really lining up. And this led me to this kind of confusion, which is why the reason I'm making this entire video as to what the hell is going on. Like, how could somebody be better at one and then worse at the other at different points in their life? Why does it kind of seem in this case as if there are two kinds of strength. Big thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of in-depth classes helping you develop new skills, explore your interest, and discover your creative side. For example, I really enjoyed this course on DIY product photography taught by a team of photographers called Mango Street Lab. I personally have had to do some product photography for my business recently, and the skills and tips taught in this course were a big help in setting up my shots. Whether you want to take a course in animation, photography, web development, entrepreneurship, you name it, chances are Skillshare's got you covered. The first 1,000 people to use the link in my description will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership, and after that it's only around $10 a month. So if you guys are interested and you feel like learning something new, check it out. Okay, first things first, what you guys have to understand is that not all muscle in and on your body is the same. In fact, at the top of this sort of like muscle tree, you can break it down into 3 different versions. Cardiac, smooth, and skeletal muscle. With this last third one, that's the one that we in the fitness community obviously focus a little bit more so on. But the thing is, this can actually be further subdivided into additional categories because not all skeletal muscle is built the same way and optimized for the exact same function. Different muscle fibers can actually have different concentrations of things like myoglobin, for example. This is a protein similar to hemoglobin, which is actually responsible for trapping and keeping oxygen in your muscle cells. Or it could have different levels of mitochondria, which, as we all know, is the world's most popular cellular component / meme. And it's differences like this which result in what you guys may have heard of as slow and fast twitch muscle fibers, otherwise known as type 1 and type 2. In fact, this could be even further broken down into type 2A and type 2B, otherwise known as super fast twitch muscle fibers. Now, in reality, it's not as simple as this binary with 100% of your muscle fibers being in one of 2 or 3 categories. In reality, it's more of a spectrum, but for the purposes of simplicity in this video, we are going to be sticking with this basic model. So as the name implies, slow twitch muscle fibers, although they are fantastic for more longer endurance-based forms of training like swimming, running, or even like certain longer high volume CrossFit workouts, when it comes to more high speed, high power, explosive styles of training like powerlifting, for example, they kind of drop the ball. Then on the flip side, you have fast twitch muscle fibers, which are pretty much the exact opposite. They have much faster contraction speed and overall force production capability, but when it comes to anything longer in terms of endurance style training, they kind of suck. Pretty much they can last about a minute or so, and then that's about it.
Sounds like someone.
God damn it! And then there's a few other key differences as well. For example, fast twitch muscle fibers actually are larger to begin with and have an increased hypertrophy potential, growth potential, than slow twitch muscle fibers. This kind of helps explain why endurance athletes aren't exactly the biggest guys from a visual standpoint. So here's how this actually starts to pertain to how you guys train. Because although all training that you do in the gym with weights is going to induce hypertrophy in all of your muscle fibers, whether it be with low, moderate, or heavy weights, high intensity training, that being said, depending on your training style, you can have a greater emphasis on certain muscle fibers more than the others. In fact, with sufficient training, it's actually even possible for muscle fibers to transition from one type to another. You can actually have type 2B super fast twitch muscle fibers kind of slow down towards the type 2 muscle fiber category. And I think this really does help explain kind of the situation with my squat. Pretty much for like the last 4 to 6 months, the majority of 2020, I spent months exclusively training really heavy with the sole focus of increasing my 1 rep max on the squat. So what did I do to facilitate that? Obviously successful, recent all-time PR. Well, it was a lot of heavy training. You know, sets of 2, sets of 3, sets of 5 or 6. I literally do not remember the last time I did anything over 10 reps or 45 seconds in terms of a total set on the squats. And this, I don't want to say that it like allowed my slower twitch, not slow, but slower twitch muscle fibers to decrease or degenerate or atrophy, but it's almost as if they didn't grow in line as much as my faster twitch, high power, high contractile speed muscle fibers. So this next variable is one that a lot of people, they really don't understand because they tend to oversimplify the crap out of strength training. A lot of people believe that strength is simply a 100% byproduct of muscle, and the two are perfectly linearly correlated. Somebody with a 20% bigger chest is by definition going to have a 20% stronger 1 rep max on the bench press. And the problem with this is that you are forgetting a huge component, a huge factor when it comes to strength, which is the actual efficiency and skill involved with the exercise. And no, I'm not talking about some pseudo general, like way of talking about like, I just become better at the bench press. No, I mean literally on a neurological level, how efficient is your body at recruiting additional muscle fibers and executing a specific motor pattern? So first things first, a little bit of backstory. When you guys engage in a lift, or for that matter, anything at all that you do with any skeletal or voluntary muscles, your body actually sends signals from your brain via your somatic nervous system. Your individual muscle fibers are then activated by something called motor neurons. And when you have a lot of muscle fibers kind of like bundled together, attached to multiple motor neurons, you get something, this kind of overall contraption. We call it a motor unit. And here's how this actually pertains to you and how much you lift. Because if you spend more time training and gaining experience with a certain style of lifting, you can actually improve these neural pathways and improve the overall efficiency in terms of how these motor units are activated. You are literally becoming better at an exercise the same way you would with any other athletic movement, whether it be shooting a jump shot, swinging a tennis racket, sprinting, you name it, you are literally becoming better, not necessarily just getting bigger. This is a big way that athletes get stronger in the Olympics. The clean and jerk, bench press, the snatch, you can't just pack on muscle in order to get stronger, because once you are out of your weight category, well, then it's going to be significantly harder. It's going to be a much higher caliber of competition. You need to become as strong as you possibly can, pound for pound, remaining in your weight category. And how do you do this? Well, like this, by gaining experience, by becoming an overall more efficient, not necessarily bigger lifter. This actually reminds me of a really good example, which I myself witnessed back when I was in university. I remember I was like 20, 21, I was like 180-ish pounds body weight, and I think at the time I was deadlifting for around 2 or 3 years, and my 1 rep max, if memory serves me correctly, was 4 plates. 405 pounds was my 1 rep max on the deadlift. And every now and then I would see this one guy come into the gym. And just to give you a description, he was not exactly the biggest person, to put it lightly. He looked like he was like a $140 in body weight. I had like a solid 40 to 45 pounds of overall size and muscle on him. He looked like someone who, if he tried to lift anything more than 2 plates, his arms would just tear off of his torso. And yet I'll never forget, I would see this guy come in week after week, load up upwards of 4.5 plates, 455 pounds, 50 pounds more than what I can do for a 1 rep max if my life depended on it. And then this kid would just rep, sets of 5, sets of 6 for multiple sets. I would think like, what the hell is going on here? I have 50 pounds on you. I have significantly more muscle in the muscles actually required for the deadlift, the hamstrings, the glutes, my overall posterior chain. And yet somehow this guy is so much stronger than me. This guy was just miles ahead of me in terms of overall training experience, and he had a much more efficient system of recruiting those motor units and developing those neural pathways when it comes to executing this motor pattern, which in this case is the deadlift movement. He wasn't a bigger lifter than me by any means, but he definitely was a better lifter. Well, first and foremost, if there's one takeaway from this video, it's you have to understand that strength is not as black and white as it may seem. Strength is not just simply how much you can lift for 1 rep in this one specific exercise. There are other factors. There are other facets to strength. And in conjunction, this also tells us that it might not be a good idea to train exclusively in one way. For example, if you are someone who always kind of like only train heavy, you never go above like, 6 or 8 reps per set. You were just balls to the wall, lots of sets, lots of weight, low reps. But to be honest, it's not optimal because you were still technically leaving some gains and some development on the table. Yes, your faster twitch muscle fibers might be bigger. However, your slow twitch muscle fibers or slower twitch muscle fibers, they still matter. They don't not exist, they are still there, and it might be a good idea to still train them at least to a certain extent. It might be a good idea to divert at least 20 to 30% of your training towards longer sets, lighter weight, not light, but more moderate style, moderate weight training to give those slower twitch muscle fibers at least a little bit of emphasis. And I don't know about you guys, but if I'm trying to get as big as possible, if I'm trying to grow a certain muscle group as much as I possibly can, I don't necessarily feel like training 60% of the muscle fibers at 100% because they're big and strong and powerful and fast. And then when it comes to the other 40% of muscle fibers, I'm kind of like, sorry, but either way, guys, that about does it for me on this random video I did. I know it's a bit of a deep dive into the mechanics of strength, but I don't know, it was kind of interesting, and it's something which actually affected me practically when I realized that, it's not as simple as just like, I get stronger on the squat and everything goes up together. It's a bit more complicated than that, as I obviously learned through my own experience. Last thing I want to mention is the skinny fat solution update is coming next week. Sorry, I know last week I said it's coming this week and now I have to push it back one more week. I know, trust me, it's annoying, but I want it to be as friggin' awesome as possible, and most importantly, just really easy for you guys in terms of your ability to use it, grasp the concepts, literally just pick it up on day one and be ready to go with your new nutrition plan, new training plan, all that stuff. It is coming next week, so bear with me a little bit more, but I guarantee you guys will love it. Those of you who have the program are going to love it even more. Those of you who don't, what are you waiting for? It's awesome. Next week it's coming. And with that, I will say thank you for watching this video. I appreciate you guys, as always, for stopping by and hearing me yell about biceps and squats for 20 minutes. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.